out on special assignment, but we have none other than Doc for Life in the studio
All
with us.
right, Mondo, turn up Rod volume there a little bit.
Tell my man Doc to eliminate that other chair for me too. Doc, how you doing this evening?
Man, I'm good. I'm hot though. My AC done went out again.
Oh man. So
Man, I ain't gonna keep paying $2,000 and $3,000 for no AC. I'm gonna give me a block of ice and sit on it.
so is it time to just get another AC?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Man. Hey Doc,
Oh, check your microphone there.
okay. Let me see it. Let me turn up a little bit. Turn up.
It's very, very low.
Can you hear me better now?
Check.
No, some reason y'all are low.
Test. I don't know why I dropped low. It's clean. Check.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
You barely coming and registering.
2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Make sure your microphone is plugged all the way into the pack.
All right, testing. Doc, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Doc?
And
Testing. Doc, can you hear me?
mm,
You, Mondo? Okay, testing. 1, 2, 3. Doc, can you hear me?
it almost got it. Something going on there.
All right. Well, you doing this?
Y'all forget why we got this test so different. Now we got some loudness.
All right, check now.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
That's lot better. Lot better.
So, Doc, so you say you're experiencing some hot weather and is wearing that AC out tonight.
Man, what you talking about, bro?
Man, plug that. Hey, Doc, the only one don't go silent on his phone. I hear his phone all during the show. I'm gonna get that ringtone that Doc got. Doc, what you do this weekend, man?
Man, I went and I celebrated my sister-in-law's 60th birthday. My wife and I were actually the MCs for the event. And boy, I had a good time. You know, Jamaicans like to party anyway.
Well, I know that food is something
most,
else.
Most of them, their middle name is Party. Oh, that food was fire. That food was fire.
So, Doc, before we get into the show, man, tell me about some of the delicacies that you had.
Well, we had my favorite, which was the jerk chicken. They had jerk chicken, rice and peas. They had the salad with it. They had fried fish. The fish was very good too. Stewed chicken. Everything Jamaicans love was there. So
I like that mackerel with the potatoes, the what do you call it? The bell peppers, the onions. Man, come on! Now you're gonna make me figure out how to cook that again.
Escovish.
Yes. So
yes.
Doc, you know a little something.
Oh yeah, I can't live with a yardie and not learn.
You know a little something. Hey, with Doc, man, you know, before we jump into the show, man.
Wait. What did you do for the Queen for Mother's Day?
Man, you know, we hung out, man. I mean, we just hung out, and you know, it's good to have grown children that step up and, you know, help their daddy make sure that the mother is recognized for Mother's Day and all that good old stuff. So my kids helped me out a little bit.
Well, good. I'm glad for Miss Love that she enjoyed it. Well, when I talk to her again, I'll ask you if she enjoyed it.
And I know you will. Hey, Mondo, he ain't lying. I know he will.
Hey, I know your wife think I'm crazy.
Hey, and then he'll keep this segment of the show and play it back because he'll be like, Hey, well, he told me this. Let me show you what he Doc, you something else, brother. But Doc, man, there's a lot going on, man, and I mean, we got a lot to talk about on tonight's show. But there's some other things, man, that a lot of people are talking about, man. And one of the first things that people are talking about is the Florida redistricting and the minority representation, man. Central Florida's Puerto Rican and Latino community in the Osceola Kissimmee area. Uh, I mean, there's a lot of conversation, man, that's taking place and going on about the redistricting. And I guess uh, as a result of the special session that took place, was it last week, Doc?
Yeah. So and one of the things that people are pointing out, all the other states that this is not a knock, I'm just saying what it is. All the other states that have had redistricting, they left it up to the voters. But in Florida, the governor drew the map. So people are really upset about that. I think more than anything else, they are upset that the democratic process was left out, that the people who should have spoken on it weren't allowed to.
But Doc, one of the things that I think we're missing in this conversation, and to be fair across the board, we got to have that conversation about what the United States Supreme Court, what that decision was. I mean, whether you agree with it or not, this came from the highest court. And I know, there's a lot of conversation, man, about the Voting Rights Act and things of the nature. But before you start having a conversation about redistricting, you got to have because it set off a chain reaction throughout the country now as a result of the Supreme Court decision that, and Doc, help me with this, and I know our brother Armando stays up on it, but I guess to summarize it, the Supreme Court uh, basically declared that you can't gerryman to create districts based on race. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that, but it makes it as if race does not exist and doesn't matter, though, and it absolutely does. Representation matters. If representation didn't matter, they would be trying to take it. They wouldn't be trying to take it. So
the question,
obviously, it means something.
Well, Doc, the general normally, that's the person that's sitting in this seat right here that we're gonna make disappear shortly. But normally, the general would be offering up what his, I guess, legal opinion would be. Where does this go? Because the Supreme Court, that's the final court of the land. And so, since the Supreme Court has weighed in on this, you see, basically, you see other states that have kind of reacted to this, and now you have redistricting that's taking place all across the country. I guess in an aspect to eliminate districts based on race.
Well, here's the thing, though, Rod. They're all out of order because redistricting is supposed to be based on what?
Census.
Exactly. And we are not in a census year.
But it's, I mean, and Doc, I'm misspeaking, and I don't want this to be, because when I know what I'm talking about, I'll say it with a great degree of confidence and definity. But the other piece, Doc, I think is based on the census, and it had been based on in years gone past, based on having an individual elected that represents that population of concentrated population of people. I don't know. I don't want to say something that is not exact, but Doc, now as it stands, I mean, the census is a tool that's used to determine, a population of people, what the needs are. Is it more educational needs? Is there needs for more jobs in one industry or the other? I mean, across the board, it's been used as a tool to say, hey, is there a need for increased child care? Is there a need for more professions in this occupation across the board? So now, redistricting is taking place in advance of the 10-year cycle that it normally takes place. And this will be the 5-year cycle, right, Doc?
Yeah. And there is no such thing as a 5-year cycle. Theoretically,
Well,
This is something that I'm going to throw a rock. This is something that the Republicans have triggered, and the Democrats jumped on board. So I guess they thought if you can't beat them, join them. And now we have a redistricting war that's really harmful to the politics standard, the body of politics, because now it's destabilizing the organization of redistricting. And all I see is every year that there's an election, there's going to be fighting to redraw the maps by both parties.
What's taking place right now too, Doc, that's, in the headlines is the 2026 midterm election readiness among the supervisor of elections in the Central Florida district. One of the things that we need to be mindful of, and this is right off of the press, Central Florida election supervisors already discussing safety and security concerns, as well as training and contingency plans headed into the midterm. So, you have to ask yourself the question, man, what to expect?
Well, that's going to be interesting because we continue to see an escalation in political threats as well as political violence. And this past weekend, I don't know if you kept up with it, but they charged the guy that went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. They formally charged him this weekend. So that's going to get, he's going to face judgment in court on that. And the thing is it the right thing to do? Absolutely. Because we've got to, I don't care who it is across the spectrum, this political violence needs to be dealt with harshly.
I agree with you. I agree.
It cannot stand, even to the point where people that call our representatives and politicians and just say, I'm going to come over there and kill you. You need to go to jail for about 10 years just for saying that, because it's not going to, it's not going to stop, Rod, until we get that.
You're right. And I agree with you 100%. But Doc, I even say, you mentioned those individuals that call their local representative and not just at the federal level, Doc. I think this needs to be something that takes place at all levels of elected officials, because we need to take the safety seriously. But, it shouldn't be where you got to wait for somebody to call an elected official and say, I'm going to kill you. It needs to be to the extent that when people pick up the phone and they're talking aggressively to the elected official or to their staff, those threats need to be taken seriously.
Well, here's the thing. What's sad about it is many times people who are doing this, Rod, they don't understand that in and of themselves, the elected officials don't hold that much power. You're blaming an individual that's part of a system. It's not one state senator that decides. It's the state Senate as a body. Okay? And we have to understand that. The House, the same thing. Positions, these cabinet positions, okay? They decide. You have the state attorney, but the state attorney, he's the leader. He's got a staff there that researches and make sure that they're following the law and the Constitution. I don't know if you've been following the thing about the Florida state Constitution has enshrined in it that money can't be given to private entities because it has to be fair. That's in the state constitution. I didn't know that, but I saw that this morning.
What do you mean can't be given to private entities?
The way that this voucher, the voucher system has come up is according to the teachers union who have filed this brief. It's unconstitutional according to the Florida state constitution.
Are you referencing private schools or something like that? Is that what you're?
Yeah, charter schools, and they've taken I think $2 billion annually, and taking that from public schools across the state and giving it to private and charter
Doc,
schools.
Doc, you said would you say this is in the Constitution?
Yes, this is a Florida State Constitution. It was on 9 this morning. I mean, on 9 this afternoon, they were talking about it in the news. So you can go back and watch it.
Yeah, I got it.
But
I want to go.
like I told you, I didn't know that, but it is enshrined in there. And the interpretation that they're using, you know how they do. They cite the statute and all of that stuff. I didn't write it down, but it's interesting.
I'm gonna go look at that because I mean, again, this is the first time I've ever heard that. And I got to believe that there's some other nuances because wait, now I don't go around making up stuff. So no. I'm not saying you make no, Doc. No, I wouldn't. Yeah. No, but I'm saying, come on, man.
Well, like I told you, I hadn't ever heard this viewpoint in all the years that we've had the tug of war between public schools and charter schools. So, maybe that needs to be a show that we come back and talk about it. We research it because
I don't want to open up a can of worms with you tonight, but I do want to ask you this. I do want to ask you this one question though. Seriously. And Doc, you're a conscientious father. I'm gonna say that about you. If you had the opportunity to ensure that your children was getting the best education that they possibly could. And I'm not going to sit up here and go back and forth as to, because I'm a public school product. So I'm not knocking that. But I guess where I am going with that, Doc, is do you believe that parents should have the right, if they're not happy, satisfied with the public school education that the kids are receiving, that they be afforded the benefit to use the same tax dollars that they contribute for their kids to go to public school? Do you believe that they should be able to, use those same dollars, whether it's voucher? I don't understand, the different mechanisms. But Doc, would you say you should be allowed to send your kids to a institution of learning that you deem appropriate for your child? I'm just asking you. Thank you, Doc.
No, I don't. And here's why. We need to look at the education system as a part of national defense. Now, a lot of people won't look at that way, but it's imperative that we educate all of our citizens, not just based on class. We need to find the best and the brightest. Okay, you could be the best and the brightest and poor. That should not rob you of education.
This is a great conversation, and we're gonna share time. And Armando, I want you to turn on your mic too, because I want to get this other generational aspect. See, I told Doc I wasn't gonna let him pull me into this, but he did it. He's smart. So when you said no, Doc, it just lit a fuse in me from the perspective that I'm gonna say this to you, and we're gonna give each other time. I'm gonna be respectful, and Mondo, we're gonna shift the gears to you too. But you said as a part of national defense, and you said no, parents shouldn't be. We should be educating everybody. Doc, if a parent decides they want to put their child in another institution of learning and use the same tax dollars, why shouldn't they be able to do it?
Well, why can't they pay for it?
Well, then let me ask you this question:
if they have a particular bent about how their child should be educated, then they need to make it incumbent upon themselves to provide the level of education they think that their child is deserving of.
Okay, put a pin in that. Mondo, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts, Mondo? Because I want to come back to Doc. Doc finna get this thing started right tonight.
I agree. I think that we should be able to choose where our kids go to school at. But I also do agree that if we want that decision, we should be able to afford it.
Okay. So here is where I'm gonna go with you and Doc. You said if we want to do that, we should be able to afford it. So what about those parents that can't afford it, but yet they still want a higher educational? I'm not even gonna say higher. What they believe to be a better educational stance for their children. But then I'm gonna go back to something Doc just said here. So when he said uh, they should be able to pay for it and afford it themselves, there's a lot of conversation about around property taxes right now, right, Doc? Right,
Yeah,
Mondo? A
yeah.
lot of conversation about property tax right now.
Yeah.
One of the things about some of the proposals that have come out about this property tax reform is that it's going to touch everything except school taxing districts. So if you say parents should be able to afford it, what do you say to those parents that's paying and contributing to school taxes right now, and they want to put their kids in a different institution of learning? Should they be exempt from paying property taxes to contribute to those local schools if their own children are not in those schools? Talk to me.
Mm.
See, think about it from.
But-
Go ahead, Doc.
Okay, so we gotta back up. What is the purpose of the public school system in America? That's what we got to start at.
No, I think you're wrong. Not start from what is, and again, I'm a product of public schools. But when you say what's the purpose of public schools, Doc, you need
What
to be
was it?
saying
What's
what's the purpose of education?
Okay, it matters what it was designed for initially, and that's why we're running into problems now, because we're taking a 1800 model and we're still trying to run on that. The original thinking was to create the current model that is the child or the what do you call it, the child template of the original, was to create factory workers, people who could show up on time, could follow a schedule, could follow instructions, and do things as a group. Remember, we went from an agrarian society to an industrial society. So there was a lot of training. School became the place where kids learn how to be patient, stand in line, and do all of those kind of things. Okay. So we're well past that now. We're well past that. And we continue to try to fit these square pegs in round holes, and one size fits all education.
See, if Doc or Armando, if you or Doc would have said to me, uh, one of the major issues that I hear a lot about when you talk about public schools and you talk about private schools is that they're regulated differently. If y'all would have had that conversation with me, then I would have kind of embraced that a little bit more to say, okay, let's have more of a dialogue, because if they're
they are different. They are vastly different.
Big time.
when you
Big
say
time.
that,
okay, I'm gonna put meat on the bone. Just by the fact that many private schools have a different ratio to student to teacher ratio.
So when you say that, Doc, say it and define it. Is the ratio larger or smaller?
The ratio is smaller, okay, in private schools.
So what has research said about teaching to a smaller class size?
Well, smaller class size are better because they give the teacher more time to cater towards a child's learning style. See, and that's what we still hold on to. Everybody don't learn the same way.
Correct.
Correct. You know, there's a lot of research that has absolutely proven the concept of neurodivergent learning, and that means that your brain and mental processes work different.
I know. See, I know Doc want to go real deep. I want Doc to just, I asked the question and I said, what does research say about smaller class size? He answered the question, Mondo, but then you see where he wanted to take us? Yeah, let's just answer the question. I mean, and this is a good...
Okay. But you have to understand, you said answer the question. You ain't say gloss over it. So I'm going to explain it, because it's not singular. It's not a singular concept. Okay. So what are the major learning styles?
You know what? I just asked a simple question and he want to go there. Okay, but we're going back to the genesis of the conversation here. We were talking about uh, does it merit uh, parents being allowed to use taxpayer dollars uh, to actually send their kids to a private school? And Doc said no. Mondo, you kind of wishy washy on it. You said, yeah, they deserve to be able to send their kids to another school, but they should pay for it.
Yep.
We talked about property tax reform. We talked about the fact that one of the proposals uh, doesn't touch school taxing dollars in the property tax reform. But then, I came back full circle to say to both of you again, what about those parents that are paying property taxes, to support schools when they can't really afford to send their own kids to a private school if not for the voucher?
Then why have um, the taxpayers pay for something that everybody can't access equally?
Why? Wait, hold
Tax
up, hold up, hold up, hold up. You wait, hold up. No, 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 no. I ain't gonna let you get out of that one, Doc. You say that everybody can't access equally. Not everybody, Doc. I mean, come on, let's face it. That's why you still got public school. Not everybody want to put their kids in private school, but those who want to have the opportunity to use their tax dollars to do it. And the key word is their tax dollars.
Right. Though, it's not their tax dollars. That's disingenuous. And
What?
because
Doc, do
many of
those
the
people
people,
do those
many of
citizens?
those people are getting a benefit truly that's greater than their contribution. If you take that that tax, you say they tax dollars, right?
Yeah.
So when you factor in how much tax they pay versus
So
the
so so
tuition
so,
and the
so where
cost
Doc
of
is going, if FTE account for an individual child is $7,000, and I think I'm hitting somewhere close when we
Mhm.
were looking at Orange County public schools. And I mean, Doc, I get where you're going. You're basically saying, okay, if you were to pull those dollars that those taxpayers pay, they might that they contribute might be 2,000, and the taxpayers are picking up the rest. That's basically what you're saying, right?
right.
So again, the both of you are saying, hey, if parents are kind of stuck and their kids are at a school that they don't believe the kids are getting the benefit or the best education that they can, then they're just stuck like Chuck. Or then I guess maybe you're saying, uh, get out and work. Go ahead and get a few more jobs if you want to send your kid to public school, uh, to a private school rather. That's basically what you're saying, right? In a nutshell.
Well, I'm saying just because you want something doesn't mean that it has to be provided to you. The government is not Santa Claus. Don't we always say that? Don't you and I always are complaining about people treating the government like Santa Claus?
But we pick and choose what we want to complain about too.
So you're saying that your position is that we should pay for everybody's education choice.
Oh, Doc, what my position is has been what a position that the Florida legislature, and it didn't just start yesterday, has allowed for, and that is, and I know somebody can Google that the Florida legislature made it whereby creating a voucher program so that individuals that aren't satisfied with the level of education that their children are receiving, that you got other choices. And so basically what you're saying is, well, they're being given these choices, but those choices are taking money away from public schools is basically what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and it shouldn't be. It should
So,
not be.
so well, I hear what you're saying, Doc, and I understand both sides of it. Um, but boy, I tell you, that's one of those deals where, you know, tell those mothers, those fathers, those families that because you believe you should, be able to decide the choice for your child's education, that maybe your kid needs to stay. And I'm not demeaning by any means, but we do have some schools that are not performing at the level that we wish they were, and you got individuals that live in those communities and wish they could move uh, to other communities where you got these schools that are overperforming. It's not. I mean, it doesn't work like that all the time, Doc. And again, I'm not going to sit up here and say, it's a perfect world, but boy, I like the fact that those parents that have the ability to choose for their children right now, that they have it and they've been using it. And Doc, I think the other side of the conversation that we're having is, you know, for example, Orange County Public Schools, they were projecting a deficit based on low birth rates and parents choosing vouchers to place their kids in private schools. Uh, that that's a result of the reduction that they thought was going to be somewhere around $28 million. Now we see, as it stands today, and that looks like it has doubled.
Mm.
I'll go ahead and accept my defeat.
You accept your defeat, Armando? But see, Armando, I'm not gonna rub it in.
Today. Yeah.
But tell me what are you accepting? Because we want to make sure that we memorialize it. What are you accepting?
Nah, I understand that parents, there are some parents that can't afford to pay what the fee is. So therefore they shouldn't be left out to have a choice,
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, that's all.
Here's the thing that I would say. Where I could theoretically support school choice, and that would be that every child at every grade level receives the same amount of funding regardless of where they go.
See, now Doc working with us, man. I mean,
what has to take place also is that the accountability and the politics of running schools has to be taken over in a different manner. The problem is not the funding. It's a lot of it is the politics of school systems. That's the issue.
Hey Doc, you and I and Armando, you've been with us since day one. I like this conversation and dialogue because what this has opened up is opened up the dialogue to say you can't get all of what you want, and I'm not gonna get all of what I want.
Right.
We're gonna sit back and we're gonna look at how do we massage this, how do we negotiate, how do we compromise to have a conversation to where we're gonna have folk that feel like they walked away and lost something, but all three of us are gonna also walk away and feel like we made some inroads to making up some ground, and that's what it's all about.
Now, Brother John Bryans, he says, what about student scores in public schools being too low versus private schools? Now, see, that's a can of worms.
Yeah, but you know what? John need to call the show because I want him to explain that. And John, this almost like radio sometimes, man. We want you to get to the point and tell us to explain it, because when you talk about the low scores of public school students versus private school, like you, Doc, I want you to elaborate on that a little bit. And the phone number for the show, and Mondo, thank you, Mondo, is 407-921-6195. I like Brother Burns to kind of put a little bit of meat on the bones for that. And Doc, that is in part my point. And again, I'm not vilifying Doc, but you do have some schools in the area. Oh, GBA, for example. We all grew up on grade point average.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dr. Randy Nelson and I, based on our background and things of that nature, we came up and developed GBA, grades, behavior, and attendance. And so you have grades, behavior, and attendance because you have to have a focus on.
Hey, John, turn your audio down in the back.
Yeah. So Doc, you have to have a behavior, and it goes back to your point before we were talking about small class size, that if you have a small class size, you don't have an individual because of behavioral problems that you can teach to the entire class, and it's not disruptive, then you can actually reach and teach to those kids. And then, of
I,
course, the
I, I
attendance.
agree because here's what's going on in American schools now, from my perspective. You got little Johnny that's just a terror, and little Johnny is in the classroom and in grade 4, and he's raising hell. He don't want to sit down. He's always moving around, out of his seat,
And that
disruptive,
teacher's
and all of that
distracted.
stuff.
They're focusing on that one
Right.
kid.
And
Yeah.
they focus on that one kid. And so that robs the other children of an opportunity to have consistent instructions.
You're absolutely correct, Doc. And Doc, let me make
And,
this last point. Then we're gonna bring Brother Burns on so you can put
Mhm.
some meat on the bones. So you talked about the behavior aspect and the benefit of not having per se to deal with that. Then the other aspect, and I'm not so proud to say, but I remember the days of outdoor suspension, and then it got more.
well, I ain't thought about that.
Hey, and then and then it got modernized to where it was indoor suspension too. But that comes down to attendance. If a child is not in the learning environment, whether they are not going to school at all or suspended indoor or outdoor, they're not in a learning environment. And so that's where
Right.
DBA.
Before we go to Brother Burns, explain to people what outdoor suspension is.
Hey, I mean, when I was growing up, and like I said, I'm not too proud of it, but outdoor suspension. I'm gonna just tell you this story real quick. I'll tell you this quick story. My mama is like all of maybe 5 feet high, and when I was in junior high, and it was during the Mario boat lift when Cubans were coming into Miami, and man, I started making friends with Cubans, and had these bakeries that they did all this stuff, man, sugar bread. So my first entree into outdoor suspension is the principal told us, stop leaving campus, going over to the bakery. Stop leaving campus. Well, they caught us leaving campus again, and me and my buddies was in the principal office, and he says, I'm gonna give y'all 3 days outdoor suspension, or I'm gonna give you a paddle. That's back in when you could, paddle.
Yeah.
So some of the fellas said that, they were going to take outdoor suspension. That means you go home, you stay home for 3 days. Well, called my mom, and I said, hey, I'm getting suspended outdoors.
You mean at home suspension? Out of
At
school
home
suspension.
Hey,
Yeah.
and so my mom say, let me talk to the principal. I put Mr. Bertani on the phone. Mr. Bertani said, hey, Miss Love, I gave him the option of getting paddled 3 times, or he's gonna go home for 3 days. My mama said, you put that wood on him, and by the time you finish, get him last, because I'll be out to the school to put this belt on. Hey, Doc, that was outdoor suspension then when you're home, but when you were home back then, coming up from humble beginnings or no matter what beginnings, man,
Okay.
we
See,
didn't get to stay home.
y'all call it outdoor suspension, but when I was in school, outdoor suspension was you stayed at school, you didn't sit in the classroom, you went around with the janitor.
Oh wow.
And other kids picking up paper, raking.
And Mondo, that's a different that was a different generation of outdoor suspension back then.
And you had to do that for if you had outdoor suspension, that's what it was. You stayed in school, and then parents start complaining. So that's how they came up with in school suspension, where you go to the classroom.
Oh yeah, I know.
But you go to the classroom and you're in suspension with a lot of other people. Hey Doc, before we lose our train of thought, we got Brother Burns on here with us. Hey, Brother Burns, how you doing this evening?
I am doing wonderful. I've been really enjoying the conversation here this evening.
So, man, you joined the conversation because you put a comment in the text, man, and we want you to put some meat on the bones. Will you let everybody know what your comment was? Okay, Doc, you just put it up on the board. What about student scores in public schools being too low versus private schools? Brother Burns, put some meat on the bones for us.
Well, we have seen the idea of having vouchers because it allows lower income often, but all across the board in the state of Florida. If you wish to use your voucher, go from a public school to go to a private school, you can do so. And if you can afford either, if they're even, then that's perfect. If it's not, then you may have to pay a little bit more, but you don't have to pay the whole thing because the voucher covers part of it. And when we look, especially in our urban cities, gentlemen, we're seeing scores that are, 25% of the kids are reading at the grade level.
Oh, okay. I get
I
where
mean,
you're going.
that's absurd. Or even worse when it comes to math and sciences. So these students and their parents are captivated by public schools and they have nowhere to go. These vouchers give them the option of going to either another school, a choice because a better school, even if it's public, or to a private school where they may have to pay a little bit more, or it may be the same. Either way, they're getting options that they currently don't have. I mean, it's again merit based. I believe that we should do things based upon the merits. If look, gentlemen, I went to a private school, and having 30 people in a class, I usually had 15 in a class. You get a lot more attention. I went to a military school, so we had corporal punishment, gentlemen. You didn't do things wrong very often because I remember I was in a literature class, and someone said, write the author's name, and I wrote Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And the teacher wasn't pleased with me, and he pulled out a paddle, and he wrote out Henry Wadsworth Longfellow on my derriere. I could not sit down straight for a week. And let me assure you, I didn't do that again.
Oh, boy.
So, look, gentlemen, I just think all children and their parents should have the right to go to the best schools. And if you have vouchers, you have at least some capability, some leveling out to give that option.
Hey, John,
That was my point.
Brother Burns, hold on the line. But
Yeah.
thank you for dialing in and contributing to this conversation. And Doc, I think that, just as we were talking before, man, we were negotiating, if you would, because I don't believe that we should condemn parents utilizing the vouchers if they deem it something that they value and that they want a better education for their children.
Okay, so let me ask you and Brother John this. Okay, let's say everybody gets to have vouchers, right? Now you got Lisa, who's got a child in the 4th grade, and their child is the main one acting out. Okay. And Lisa decides, I don't like this school and the administrators and all that. I'm going to put him in charter school. So she puts him in charter school, right? And he continues to behave the same way. You haven't solved the issue. You just moved it.
But wait,
hold on.
Okay, but give us an opportunity to respond. You finna drag this thing out. I'm gonna forget your point.
I'm not gonna drag it out. And what we're seeing is the fact that it's not a single part of the equation. There are other factors that go into why schools are the way that they are. You understand? Because Johnny,
well, isn't that part of the problem, though, Doc? I mean, kids are no longer exercising throughout the day. They're not getting a chance to do that very important physical exercise. I mean, the kind of classes that you experience, I experience, is so much different. We're not learning history today, and
well, that's by design.
A lot of that kids are having a real loss because of it.
A lot of that is by design. The exercise as well. I mean,
let me jump in real quick because I want to respond to this and I don't want it to go by the wayside. And I won't name the person, but to the individual that just opined, if you would, about me and Doc. Doc is my brother. Doc and I do this all the time on a regular basis. Iron sharpens iron. So, they just the response was they like when Doc and I go at each other. We're not going at each other. We're sharpening each other. And so I just wanted to clarify that this might be entertaining for you, but we,
Hey, listen, this is our regular conversation.
Yes.
And so
and John adds to the conversation as well. But these are the kind of conversations that I believe we have to have.
And you know what?
It's diversity of thought, gentlemen. A diversity of thought.
Well, the other night, and Ron will tell you this, I'm not a person that intentionally pokes people. That's never my motive. My motive is always the expansion of ideas and the sharing of thoughts. The other day, I said something to Rod, and the way I came across, I realized
we just had a lively conversation. We just had a lively
and it got lively. But I called Rod back and I said, I'm sorry. I realized the scope of the conversation went into an area that it shouldn't have.
But I told you, Doc, and John adds another facet to this when you talk about diversity. And Doc, I said to you, man, I didn't take it personally, but you and I have the kind of relationship. You and I have the kind of relationship, Doc, that we don't have to hold punches.
No, we don't. And when it's done, it's done. I mean, we're not the kind of people that think of something later and say and call each other up. And by the way, you know what I'm saying? It's done. It's done. So
right.
John,
you're adding to the conversation, and I'm glad you are, and I'm glad you put more meat on the bones because you added a facet that I thought I knew where you were going, and when you really spelled it out, now I know exactly where you're going with that. And when you talk about low scores, something else that Doc and I have had conversations about. If you look at certain communities, and I hate to say it like this, but if you look at certain communities, you have young people that are reading like 3 and 4 levels behind their grade level.
Yes.
But it's so listen, when you hungry, okay, when you hungry and the lights are off, learning how to read ain't high on your priority list, okay? And then you in the house with your mama can barely function, your grandmama 30. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is not any social. This is across social economic groups. We love to pretend that it applies to one group, but that's an absolute lie.
Okay, but with that, Doc, with that, and I want John to weigh in here too. And y'all, this is gonna be the rapid fire because, as y'all know, we got 10 minutes left. And Doc, you bring up a real important aspect. We can expect, just like we don't expect law enforcement to be the end-all be-all for all that ails communities. Doc, you brought up a great point. We're talking about schools and dealing with the educational aspect, but then you also have other issues. Individuals and families are struggling just to make it. They got nothing to do with education. So, John, I want to give you 2 minutes. Then I want to throw it back to Doc to address the fact that schools can't be the be-all, end-all and provide everything everybody needs. And with that being the case, how do we continue to refocus this so that it's an educational institution and we can focus again on education?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, Rod, and Doc. The reality is there are things that we have no control over. It's like saying parents should take more responsibility, but the fact is they don't. So what can we do? We can do something in the schools while we have those children. So if we can offer a concerned parent an opportunity that maybe there's a better school at a different location that they're willing to take that child to, and the voucher would transfer, and whether it's private or public, change the environment, and it might change the way that child learns.
Boy, environment is a key point. John, I'm gonna stick a pin in it for a second. Doc, if you would.
Sure.
Okay, and I agree with Brother Bynes. Here's the thing. Children, as he said, are important. Their education should be tantamount to the whole argument that we educate all of the kids in whatever way they need to learn. but we're not doing that because we allow substandard schools, and we think the solution is sending them to private or privatized entities. And I don't necessarily agree that that's the solution. It could be part of the solution, but it shouldn't be the full solution. Okay, we need to we're instead of making public schools and teachers and the whole component come up, we're allowing them to sink further and say that this is the standard. You bring them up to the standard of these same private schools, the no nonsense. See, we don't like accountability. We are not no longer an accountable society.
Doc, touche. I see where you. Hey, I like the way you went into that, Doc. Touche. Hey,
yeah, he's absolutely right. If everything was based on merit, if we could get our public schools so they produced learning in a way that students got the better scores, then absolutely they should be in public schools, but they're not, and that's the problem.
Okay, and Armando, you're a young guy, and again, based on this conversation, not everybody got to even have children to have a conversation or an opinion about this. Armando, come on, 1 minute, ring in, chime in. What's your thoughts?
I like all the points. I feel like Mr. Burns, he was correct because the kids are nowadays looking at the school as a place to come to eat. The focus is not on learning. It's way more about just, am I gonna come here and get a plate to eat, or what I'm saying, get taken care of. So that's I believe that the main focus should be coming to school to get education.
Okay, all right. Hey, and here's, I'm gonna pull this together, and then I am gonna do a rapid fire real quick, so Doc and Burns can give at least a minute and 30-second response to this. And here's what I'm gonna say, man. If we ever find ourselves with a leader that is not caught up on having fiefdoms, Doc, you talked about kids being hungry, families dealing with other issues besides educational issues. John, you talked about some other issues. It's all pertinent, but guess what? We got all of these different agencies, some with the state, some local government. If we ever find a way, whether there's mutual aid agreements, memorandum of understandings, to where we can all tie this in together, man, think about the traction that we would get and the accomplishments that we can make, because we're dealing with all these diversity of issues. So I'm gonna back into it, and Doc, I'm gonna let you have the last word. John, you got it. Minute and 30 seconds.
Well, okay. I would just say that as long as schools are providing the learning environment so that children can maximize their learning, that's what we all care about. However, we do know that there are kids that go to school because they eat. If they didn't go to school, they wouldn't have a lunch, that kind of thing. So there are those kinds of issues, but the reality is it should be based on merit. And as long as public schools produce the better results, but what we're seeing across the country are these really low rates, 25%, that's just unacceptable. So the option has to be that you can move a child to a better school.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna just footnote this. What John has described as competition. Doc, you got it.
Well, I can tell you this. I substitute taught in Orange County for 2 years. And I saw some very heroic teachers, and I saw some kids who were malnourished, maltreated, and they literally had no other way to eat other than coming to school. That morning breakfast was the first thing that they had since they left the afternoon before. We are not holding parents to the accountability level that we need to. Look at the case with the man with the 15-year-old, and he was just sentenced to 37 years for allowing his 15-year-old to kill a grandmother and her 3 kids. And people think that's harsh, but no, he's an adult. He knew that this was not right. He made a choice. And see, and that's what we got to stop doing. Saying things are mistakes when they are actually choices. Okay, we're choosing to devalue our kids. We're choosing not to educate them. Let's choose otherwise. Make everything around them equal, and everybody that's teaching kids accountable equally.
Hey, and just to summarize, I mean, and John, we made you a telephonic co-host tonight on Let's Talk Nation. But to summarize,
it's my honor.
well, man, you know you're always welcome. But to summarize this, and Doc, you and I have had this conversation before. The General Attorney Greg Jackson, he chimes in. Man, it's a sad state of affairs that unfortunately we've reached the point in our history where we have to legislate parenting. Unfortunately, Mondo, go ahead. What you say?
I think there should be also accountability for the teachers too, because nowadays I'm hearing a lot of things about they're pushing the students through.
Well, but that is something that I think we got 2 minutes, and I'm gonna close out because that's a conversation that's far greater and larger.
What's the biggest difference between private schools and public schools? Why are private schools so successful? And nobody ever gets this.
See, John, Doc does this. We got 2 minutes left to go.
No.
I would respond to him that it's too many times it's the unions, the school unions are part of the problem here.
It's the bureaucracy above the teachers. You don't have that. You don't have that with private schools and charter.
Hey, Doc, you know I'm with you because I hate bureaucracy. I know there's a level of regulatory processes and things of that nature that has to take place. But if you look at the level of bureaucracy, it's almost like you add on more staff to create more bureaucracy. I'm sorry to say it like that.
The most dangerous position in corporate America is middle management.
Well, I'm gonna say this because it's time. Hey, John, you may have to tune in next week and join us because Doc always does this to me. I love the brother, but it comes down to accountability. It comes down to performance, and I think if we can ever get our arms around the fact that competition also weighs into it. We're talking about public school and private school, but what it is about is competition, and that competition is the level of education that our children are getting. With that being said, Brother Burns, thank you for joining the show and co-hosting with me and Doc. Hey, Doc, you know I love you, brother. And some people think you and I just be going at each other's throat. They don't know we be going at each other's heart. Brother Mondo, hey, man, like that commentary from afar, brother. So for those of you who joined us tonight, tune in next week to Let's Talk Nation. We love to have you. We also love to have what you think about what's taking place, and don't get mad if we don't agree with you, because a lot of you will get happy when we do agree with you. It goes both ways. So, hey, my brothers, y'all don't have to go home,
but you got to get out of here.
Get out of here.
We'll see you next week on Let's Talk Nation. We out of here.